So, you're into racing and maybe already have some experience in sim racing, but now you're looking for a real competition because the I in AI makes you think it stands for incompetent, not intelligent. Or you're just sick of looking for a lobby to race in all evening, just to settle for Spa GT3 again, since it's the only combo that has respectable participation. And then it feels like a hot lapping competition to you, since the pace of the field is so spread out. Or even worse, the first lap hero taking out half the field in the first corner. I am Racing Rick, and in this video I will tell you my thoughts on iRacing and explain why you definitely should give it a chance, even though it's arguably the most expensive sim out there. I started with Assetto Corsa, and over the course of almost 10 years I have tried every racing sim available to PC. Be it R-Factor, Assetto Corsa Competizione, the original Assetto Corsa, Automobilista 1 and 2, the Project Cars series, Grid, Dirt, Race Room, F1 series, and even the old GTR titles. Recently I got back into iRacing, and that made me notice how much more competitive and engaging driving in iRacing really is. I will go into detail about what iRacing brings to the table, not only in regards of what you can race, but also the community, what you will learn about handling a car on the limit, racecraft, and coping with pressure. So, first things first, what's available to you when you get started with iRacing? Honestly, if you compare today's iRacing to the iRacing from 8 years ago, quite a lot. Gone are the days of just having 5 tracks and 5 cars available for free in the base content. I remember fondly that when I started with iRacing 8 years ago, I needed to make do with just Lime Rock Park, Okayama, Summit Point, Charlotte Motor Speedway and Laguna Seca. And car-wise? Yeah, well, basically MX-5 Cup only. I mean, there was the CTS-V and Pontiac Solstice as well, but after a month you've seen it all. But that's a thing of the past now. Nowadays there's quite a lot to do, to keep you busy, even with the included content. Track-wise, there is still Laguna Seca, Summit Point, Lime Rock, Okayama, and an updated version of Charlotte, but now also Oran Park, Oulton Park, Rutskogan Motor Center, Tsukuba, and Virginia International Raceway. Basically double the tracks, no extra cost. And that's only talking road racing. If you count oval racing, some people call it turning left only racing, and dirt tracks as well, that will become a whole lot more. This video I will mainly talk about track racing, because that is what I drive 90% of the time. But jumping into an oval race once in a while or jumping the Beetle over dirt hills is also a lot of fun as well. The road cars you can choose from are also far more now. The cars you can drive in the base subscription basically doubled compared to just a few years ago. The Slowsters, Spec Racer Ford and CTS-V are still there. There is a new MX-5 Cup, but additionally you have the Kia Optima, Jetta TDI, Radical SR8, Toyota GR86 Cup car, and there is also something for the open wheel fans. Formula 1600 and Formula V is included as base content. Again, this is talking track racing cars only. If you count oval and off-road as well, there are an additional 6 cars. This makes even the base content of the game very enjoyable. You have a lot of variety to get started and progress through the ranking system. Which gets us to the next thing that iRacing is really good at. Rating your driving and matching you with equal opponents. So good in fact that there are mods and systems in other games that try to replicate something similar. To make it short, you will have a safety rating that judges you on how clean of a driver you are, and iRating that tells you how fast of a driver you are. iRacing always tries to match you with drivers with a similar iRating as yours. And to join some races, you are required to have a minimum safety rating. This way you will always have people to race, and people that are overwhelmed with faster cars are kept in slower classes until they can safely handle those quicker cars. This rating system leads to another positive thing. People tend to take it more serious than in any other sim. That makes it possible to have draft fests, go 3 wide into braking zones and battle really closely, and everybody really gives his or her best to not kill someone. Of course, there's the occasional first lap shunt or 4 wide into a corner on the last lap crash. But considering how close all of my last races were, these things happen way less than compared to any other sim. Of course, always talking about racing online against random people around the globe, not talking about leaks. Also, iRacing really punishes mistakes, just like it would in the real world. Long repair times if cars get damaged, and you will definitely notice the damage on track. Going off track is really slippery and loses you lots of time. Going sideways because of rough driving ends in a complete spin of the car more often than not. So, clean driving is rewarded and also makes everybody try to keep it clean on track. To speak for myself, iRacing made me a better driver for every other occasion as well. First of all, there is the close racing. You will rarely have a boring race. Most of the times I was either following someone closely or someone was chasing me down with less than a second between us. Having this over an entire race duration really is stressful and trains to keep a cool head and stay focused on your lines. If you don't, you can be sure that there's someone to take advantage of any small mistake you make. But also the driving itself is a bit more difficult to get right compared to other sims. Don't get me wrong, driving is a lot of fun and really realistic in most other sims as well. Though, nowhere else it is so rewarding to get a track or just a corner right than in iRacing. It's the definition of easy to pick up but hard to master. Question: what would you think gains the most time? Smooth throttle? The racing line? Car setup? Feel free to write your guess in the comments, but it's actually the braking. And especially in iRacing you will feel it. If you are familiar with trail braking, you will improve on it in iRacing. You can really load the front tires with the help of a bit of brake pressure. That will make your car rotate better and lets you take more speed through the corners. This technique is really advanced and I can only get it remotely right once every few corners. Relying on the anti-lock braking system in iRacing slows you down. That was something that I needed to unlearn coming from the OG Assetto Corsa. Going back to Assetto Corsa, I can apply what I learned in iRacing, and it helps there as well. Makes the car turn in better and makes the driving there even more enjoyable. You will probably now think that this video is a love letter to iRacing, or that I maybe broke out of iRacing's marketing department. Well, no, because everything that sounds amazing often has one thing that's going against it. And for iRacing, that thing is cost. Most of you will probably already know that. But I have some tips for you on how you can maybe save some cash when you start with iRacing. I can't recommend iRacing to you if you just like to drive for yourself, or do the occasional league race, or if you are happy with Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 focus, or if all you do is drift in Assetto Corsa, or you're coming from driving dirt rally stages. I mean, you get what I'm saying. iRacing is for human against human racing, in a set series with good variety and lots of competition. So, how exactly can you run an iRacing as cheaply as possible? First things first, drive whole seasons. You will get a participation bonus for every 8 race weeks per season you compete in. This is limited to $10 per season, so iRacing won't pay for itself, but it will save some cost. Second thing, don't buy content you don't need. You don't need every GT3 car or LMDH or GT4 car. Before a new season starts, there will be a chance to test drive each car, even the ones you don't own. If you missed that opportunity, don't worry. Balance of performance is most of the times quite good. Every car has its own strengths and weaknesses, and those can change from season to season. If you want to be 100% sure, you will find some help in the iRacing forums. Third thing, plan ahead. At the beginning of a season, iRacing releases the schedule for said season. Decide on what series you want to participate in and whether or not you need some tracks for that. Fourth thing, buy in bulk. This goes hand in hand with the previous point. Plan ahead and buy everything you need all at once. 3 to 5 items gives you 10% rebate, 6 and more items gives you 15% off. Fifth thing, iRacing often does Black Friday sales. Of course, that's nothing that you can really rely on, but for active users this is oftentimes a possibility to save some cash. Sixth thing, if you're new to iRacing, make sure to use the deals available for new members. Currently you will be saving 40% off of the subscription fee. And the longer you subscribe, the more you will save. If you're not sure if iRacing is for you, but you want to try it out, I would recommend the 3-month plan. Not that expensive, but you will have enough time to see if iRacing is for you. Of course, iRacing is still not cheap, but I can really recommend giving it a spin. I have a link down in the description where you can subscribe to iRacing. If you choose to use the link in the description, you will support me without any extra cost. Thank you for that. So, you are subscribed now and want to get started? I recommend to get into a training session and get everything set up there. You can directly test drive and see if everything works. Also, drive for a few laps before you start to join a race. The tracks in the rookie classes are rarely found in other sims, so you might find a lot of time when getting used to the car and the track. Be sure to turn the ideal line off. That way you will really learn the track and know where the braking points, turns and things to look out for are. These are my thoughts on iRacing and why it's now a good time to give it a try. Season 4 will be starting in a few days and there's also a lot of new content coming. So let me know if you have any questions and liked or disliked the video. Thanks for staying until the end. Wish you all lots of fender bender free races and see you out on track. Maybe also racing rig.
iRACING.